everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely possible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We're robust, we got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
One. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to PSGL here for season 42 and its finale day here in PCF3. We are going to be in for an absolute treat this evening. The Williams Civil War is still raging on, and we are here at the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit to finish the season off with a duel in the desert. My name is Max Ring, and I'll be taking you through all of the action with alongside me this season for the first time, and what will be the final time this season, Ashton Fields. How are you, Ashton, on this Thursday evening?
I'm doing very good, thank you. It's a good race to be here with you today. The final race of the season, and it's going to be a very close championship between those two Williams drivers. It's going to be a very good last race of the season. I'm being very excited to see who comes out on top at the end of this race. Obviously, you got Victor and Alex at those top, but also with Ave Gabadi, I think you said, is also in contention. So to see who comes out at top at the end of this race is going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, it certainly shall be indeed, of course. As we know, the final day, the final opportunity to pick up those all important points. But as we look at the drivers' standings while we wait to go in for qualifying, it is 2 points separating the top two in the standings. After that drama on the opening lap of last week for Santana, he dropped a healthy advantage over Victor Vidler, but in turn Vidler was not able to capitalise. Only a 6th place for the Swede, who will go into this one chasing those 2 points on Santana. Ave Gabadi still mathematically within contention, but he needs to win, and for Santana and Vidler to really score outside of the points this evening. He needs both Williams drivers to not score and him to win the race for any realistic possibility for the title to be his. So it's the top 3 still in contention in the standings. Then we've got Dennis Langrock in 4th. He's 7 points clear of Giovanni Kennis. So that battle for 4th in the standings still raging on between them. Then it's Kasper Flack, Ivan Iskrieg, Zalan Bieda, Daniel Koya, Wojtek Steg, Lucas Baisner, Claudio Diaz, Oliver Knott. And then it's going to be, of course, Damien Curiel, Rafael Patton, Sousa, Noel Gio, Oleg Napadovsky, Jeremy Galinay, Piazeski, Til Achenbach, Janssen, and Dean, followed by Cavero, rounding out your top 25 in the standings, your point scorers. But, Ashton, crucially now as we head over to the circuit, drivers are trackside.
Yeah, as they come for the outlaps, by the end of this session, I predict pole to be definitely into the low 25s. I imagine it's going to be a pretty close qualifying time. This was one of the tracks. Well, obviously, if they're a returning driver, not for them. But I imagine most drivers do have quite a bit of practice, as this is quite a popular track for the drivers. Or at least I've been told by a few people that I've spoke to.
It is. It is a very popular track for the drivers. I mean, when it comes to racing as a whole as well, this is a circuit that does very much provide brilliant action, some brilliant battles, and overall to do a qualifying lap here as well, a hot lap around this track, it just feels absolutely amazing. One of the better additions from recent times on the Formula 1 calendar. But the first driver looking to go around on a lap is Zalan Bieda, with of course Vidler, Santana, and also Ave Gabadi still just behind. So we'll go on board with Ave, I think, for this first attempt. And what can the Kick Sauber driver do? Of course, he's in need of a miracle here, isn't he, Ashton, if he wants any chance of picking up the title? But he could still do himself a lovely world of justice if he does pick up pole position tonight.
Yeah, that is definitely true indeed. He might have a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to the point gap, but anything can happen in this sport, and that is what we love about it, as he's about to go and start his lap, so we can see what he can do to set a benchmark for the top 3.
Yes, we certainly can. And now into the first corner. Gabadi making it through quite nicely in this first part of the sector. Big snap out of turn number 2 as we drive all the way into turn 4. Ooh, nearly dips that inside wall. Had to really correct on the turning as he now makes his way through the fast S's. Go onto that curb on the outside. It can really drag you out wide. But for Gabadi, super committed, super fast, but super stable at the moment. So in the first split, a 31.3 won't be purple for now. I think either Bieda or that is going to be of Oliver Knott have gone that little bit faster. And for Gabadi, now making his way into turns 15 and 16, sorry. Nicely done through there as well. The main part of these opening laps is just to get a time on the board, make sure you keep the lap valid. Don't make too many mistakes. Have something to build off for the rest of the session. Now, making his way through 22 and 23. Keeps it clean through there as well. Does not run wide, does not invalidate. And makes his way now up through 25 and 26. These two little curves on the bendy back straight. And into the final corner. Braking at 100 metres. Down to third gear. Brings the car in nicely to the apex. But a bit of a slide as he brings the power back down. And Oliver Knott sets the benchmark at 25.8. Ave Gabadi next across the line. It's a 25.6. 2 tenths quicker. But now we look at both the Williams cars as they make their way to the line. Here comes Santana. Third fastest. Victor Vidler is following closely. It's Sousa just in between them. Here comes Vidler, the Swede, goes second fastest. A 25.8 is Skrieg into 6th. But for Ave Gabadi, so far, a lovely 2/10 cushion.
Yeah, that is true indeed, especially with that snap at the start of his lap. You thought maybe the time won't be relative for a good benchmark, but he managed to turn that around throughout the rest of the lap. And that 25.6, quite a margin ahead of P2, has done really well to get ahead of his current 2 rivals.
Very, very nice lap there from Ave Gabadi. Damien Curiel made his way up into 2nd. Gallanet into 3rd. We're still waiting for some other drivers to finish off their laps, like Lorenz Patton, who's now making his way to the line. 25.9 from him, goes 10th fastest. Rob now out of the final corner as he opens up that DRS, but he comes into pit lane. Casper Flack up into 2nd place now. That time's getting closer and closer to Ave Gabadi. That was, I think, Claudio Diaz going up into 4th. No, it was not. It was Lucas Basin, sorry, going up into 8th fastest. Still waiting for the times from Bieda and Daniel Koya, but they validated their previous attempts, so they won't be going any faster. And for Niall Gio, I think he's now just starting an attack, backed off the last attempt. That's why he's on a 53.6. The Frenchman now making his way through that first sector here. Ashton, it seemed very close so far indeed. The top 12 separated by just over 3.5 tenths of a second. Is ridiculously fine margins here in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and crucially, Ave Gabadi still at the top after everyone apart from 3 has done their first runs. Obviously, he's still got the Haas driver who is still on a lap, so where he'll be at the end of this current lap, we'll see. But a good benchmark for Ave Gabadi. It gets ahead by a few hundreds of a seconds over Casper, and it seems to be a really good benchmark that no one has yet to beat.
Very good benchmark so far from Ave Gabadi. Gio up by 11.6 in the sector. Is there anything more to find in the final part of the lap? You probably expect there will be. Of course, you'll need to find at least 28 seconds. Really in contention for a top 10 start. Making his way now through the final corner, a little bit wider from the apex than what we saw the likes of Ave Gabadi do through that final corner. But here comes the Frenchman to the line. What's it going to be for Gio? It's a 26.3, 3 tenths off the closest car of Ivan Escrig. Not going to be what he would want. But of course, at the start of a session, Ashton, the times aren't really too important just yet. It's mainly just making sure, as I mentioned earlier on, getting a lap time on the board, making sure there's something there to work with. You have a delta, you have something to aim for, and you can also maybe see what went wrong and what corners potentially you made a few moments and had a few corrections as you're still building your confidence session.
Yeah, and that's definitely true. Some people, even if they make a mistake on their first laps, they always go out again. Obviously, it's different for different drivers. Some go into the pits to go again, but having that delta on the top right just gives you that bit of a confidence boost to try and go quicker. Obviously, some drivers don't always go for a second run. They go into the pits to just try and get the quickest time on the board. As I know for me, when I'm always doing a lap, that delta on the top right can be distracting if you've messed up your first lap.
Yeah, it certainly can be indeed. You can see yourself up by, say, 9/10 of a second if you've made a huge mistake, and then you think, oh, I could be on for a front row potentially, and then you come across the line, it's 10th fastest, and you're like, oh, but then you realise how big the mistake really was and how much time you did lose. So for Gio, he, of course, is coming into the pit lane. Ryan Grob is now just starting a attempt as drivers start to make their way out onto the circuit. The likes of championship contenders Gabadi and Santana joined by Felipe Sousa and Zalan Bieda. So for Ryan Grob, that was a bit of a snap through turn 9 as he now heads through the first sector split. It's going to be a 32.6, not the strongest first part of the lap since he's been impeded there by Ave Gabadi. Grob will not be happy with that one, and for one of the championship protagonists, that's certainly not going to look good come the end of this evening. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a steward inquiry there from Ryan Grob onto Gabadi there, Ashton, because that was certainly an impediment into turn 12.
Yeah, it was definitely impeding. I think Ryan was about to back out of his lap as the impeding happened, but nevertheless, he was in the way. So yeah, I definitely agree about the stewards looking into that after the race has ended.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the stewards decide in that one. Of course, one thing we don't want this season is for this dramatic title battle, this amazing title battle we've had all season long, to be decided in the stewards room after the race. So it's all about these drivers trying to keep it clean, but so far it is match point to Gabadi. But as things currently stand, if the things finish like this in the Grand Prix, it will be Victor Vidler who will pick up the title from Santana, then Gabadi. But here we are then with the Kick Sauber driver once again making his way down through the first couple of corners. Of course, provisional pole so far from the Kick Sauber as he now makes his way into turn 4, be down into 5th gear, bring the car out to that right hand side, rides the curb nicely as we make our way through turn 6, 7, 8 and then into 9, just making sure you lift off the throttle ever so slightly just to make sure the car don't rotate round too aggressively or understeer too far wide. He's down by half a tenth in that first sector. Now as he makes his way through 12, a lovely use of that inside apex curb to help rotate the car through. And now make our way into 15 and 16. Down to 5th gear. Had to really correct himself on entry there. Maybe went in a little bit too shallow. And as we now make our way into the middle sector split, are we going to see any more of an improvement, or is he still going to be down on the lap? He is up on the lap, so he's found half a tenth in that middle sector. So if he improves that first sector, he certainly could be on for even a 0.4 come the end of this session potentially. But for Gabadi, making his way up into that final corner now. Casper Flack-Curiel will be behind. They will get better track evolution, and Gabadi a little bit wider from the apex in the last lap, but does not have the slide. Out of 27 this time around. Up to the line we go. Gabadi is an improvement. It is an improvement by 35 thousandths of a second. And for Alex Santana, who's behind, he's up by a tenth and a half. He could have a monumental improvement up the field.
As he crosses the line, it's going to be P4 for him. So a bit behind Ave Gabadi, but jumps up a few positions, crucially ahead of his teammate. But his teammate is on a lap, and I imagine will be improving in the next few minutes.
Actually, Victor Vidler not improving on this lap, backs off this attempt, so he won't be finding any time in the remainder of this session. Oliver Knotts, I think, is coming to line. No, he backs out of things. He's not going to go again. Damien Curiel into the pit lane. Casper Flack's up by 700ths in that middle sector, but he needs to find a little bit more in the final part of the lap if he does want to snatch this provisional pole away from Ave Gabadi. Of course, Flack is a race winner this season. He would love to get his second of the season here tonight. Patton moving himself up into 6th fastest. Flack now to the line. Is it going to be enough to snatch it away from Gabadi as he makes his run to the start-finish line? Yes, he is, by 8 thousandths of a second. Flack now heads to the top of the times. Lucas Baisner goes 5th fastest with a 25.7. Shio's out of the session. He's had a crash at turn 9. We'll go on board with teammate Patton as he makes his way through the corner. Just wasn't able to see Shio's car before it despawned. Fiddler back into pit lane, so 10th fastest so far for the man second in the standings. Bieda once again not going to be able to find a time on a lap here, and Grob's now starting his next attempt. But for the championship, well, the two at the top of the championship of Santana and Fiddler, this session certainly ebbing and flowing here. Ashton is Fiddler, now the one behind his teammate Santana, and now he's the one in 10th place.
Yeah, although teammates, I think we're going to have a very close fight between these two drivers. Obviously, throughout the season, you see the two teammates usually work as a team to try and get that constructors. But as we get to the late stages of the season, when those points really start to matter, I think we could see some exchanging of positions between these two quite a lot during this race, as it is also one of those tracks where overtaking is possible. I know throughout the F1 Canada, there are loads of places where it is difficult to overtake. So imagine we'll see some moves, potentially obviously into turn 1. But obviously we could see some expecting moves coming into some corners to try and catch some drivers off guard.
We certainly can. And talking about catching drivers off guard, Ryan Grob has just had a spin through 22. And unfortunately for him, that's now missing him some left front end plate. He's had some left front end plate damage, and the McLaren driver, whose session has not gone to plan so far, unfortunately for him there, that rear of the car, even in the first sector, is super slidey. Potentially he's gone for some really extreme low downforce setup for the race, but here in qualifying it is not working out at all. Unfortunately into turn 22, took too much speed. Unfortunately the car did not like that and looped around on him, but we are now seeing everybody into the pit lane. Going to get ready for these final runs of qualifying. Ashton, before we get into these final runs, it's super close at the top of the times, but who is going to be your pick for pole position here this evening?
Oh, that is a tough question, especially since it's my first time commentating F3. But from from what we have here in this session, I think it's definitely going to go to either Casper Flatch or Ave Gabadi. I think one of those two, they've shown their pace throughout this qualifying session, especially in the kicks out with Ave Gabadi. He might be able to just edge and get that pole in these final 3 minutes. But also we can't take away, we can't take away Victor Widler and also Alex Santana. Victor Widler is P10 with a 25.8. So if he wants to be at the front fighting for those precious points that he needs over his teammate, he's definitely going to have to do some improving in the next 2 minutes and 53 seconds.
Certainly will indeed. And once again, the first driver out for the next set of runs is the man third in the driver's standings. The one looking for a miracle in this championship battle. 15 points behind leader Santana. Ave Gabadi, of course, looking at his first F3 title, looking at potential glory tonight. And what has been a really turbulent season for him, of course, missed 3 races due to no internet. And that really did cost him dear. Those 3 races where Santana and Vidler were able to capitalise and score their own points and gave them this gap over Gabadi. What it could have been if Gabadi was here for the entire season. Not know, but it certainly would have been a lot stronger, and he could be the one leading the title heading into this final round. But that's all up in the air. That was all what could have happened. Now we're looking at what can happen tonight. For Gabadi, one last opportunity to take pole position tonight. Is he going to snatch it away from the Aston Martin of Casper Flack? Here we are then, Gabadi making his way up into the final corner. The final runs will begin now with everybody out on the circuit and some lovely clean air for the Kick Sauber.
Yeah, indeed. He's going to have to try and go for one final push as he starts his lap. He's currently with the advantage as he starts his lap now, coming up to turn 1. Going to be braking at the 100-meter board before flicking his wheel coming into turn 1. It's going to be a high risk, high reward for Ave Gabadi here if he wants to get ahead of Casper Flatch in his very final run as the rest of the drivers finally come out. He should have clean air through the lap, but goes over the curbs. Maybe it bottoms out at just a tiny amount. Let's see if he loses any time coming towards the end of Sector 1. But so far, we shall see. He's actually going to enter. Will he be up in his time? 8 milliseconds split between the front two, and he is a 10th up on Casper Flack. So far, seems to be a really good lap from Ave Gabadi. Probably some more time to find in sector one with that little snap on the curb. But he is still up on Casper so far. It seems to be a good, consistent lap from him as he comes towards these turns. I don't know what they're called, sorry, but it does seem to be a really good lap, don't you think, from Ave Gabadi here?
Yeah, certainly does so far. Now looking into the middle sector split. Is he up or is he down? He's up by 1/10.5 in the middle part of the lap. This is a monstrous attempt here from Ave Gabadi. And is it going to be enough to snatch it away from Casper Flack, who himself is just making his way to the end of the first sector? So we'll quickly stay on board with the Aston Martin as he crosses that first sector split. And he's up by nearly 1/10 of a second as well. But for Ave Gabadi, up to the line. He's the first one to take a swing. He's the first one to put the money on the table, and he goes fastest of all at 25.4, a 1/10.5 improved on his previous best. Spectacular stuff. Curiel gets disqualified, so he will start down in 18th place. Would have been a top 3, stay to the left hand side, and unfortunately for him, that's his qualifying session over and done with. Santana through the middle sector as well. He's up by 800ths. Flack is a little bit further around on the lap, but we still do need to look at the likes of Oliver Knott as he's now making his way down that main straight. Knott, who's impressed in the past 2 races, up into 3rd fastest, impresses once more. Napadovsky will be next to the line. Where does he go? Fiddler goes to 4th, crucially in that championship battle. What about Casper Flack as he runs to the line? He snatches it. No, he doesn't snatch it away. Tied at the line. Same set lap time from the top 2, and it's Gabadi who at the minute will take pole position as Santana goes into 3rd. Lucas Basner will be heading to the line now just behind Lorenz Patton, who goes up into 3rd place himself. Here comes Basner. Can he snatch it away? No. 7th fastest for him. Andrea Manzua, he's down in the middle sector. So is Claudio Diaz, who's on a 2-minute 2:07. And for Daniel Koya, he can't find a big enough improvement either. And for Ave Gabadi, it's nothing in it, but he set the lap time first and crucially takes pole position here in Saudi Arabia. What an end to qualifying that was. And when the pressure is on, the man 3rd place in the standings steps up and delivers. Gabadi takes pole here in Jeddah.
Yeah, that is a very good lap from Ave Gabadi, going out a bit early as well, which I thought was going to be unexpected, but it worked out on his favour. Him matching times with Casper Flack is what allowed him to get that P1 position, as he is the one that set that lap first. But also for Victor Vidler, 25.6 and in P9. If he wants to try and gain some points on his teammate, he's definitely going to have a pretty tough race. But Ave Gabadi, really good lap time. Casper Flack, really good lap time. In fact, they're matching with 25.442. As you said before, tight margins in this session, and this qualifying session just proved it.
Well, Gabadi and Flack were the 2 protagonists there of qualifying here this evening, and nothing could separate them in the end. What an end to qualifying that was. I thought Flack took it away because the time went purple, but no. Then we saw it was identical lap times from Gabadi and Flack, and for Ave Gabadi, he needs that pole position. He needs to win this race, and he has started off in the best position possible. He has at least got an upper hand over Alex Santana and Victor Vidler. It's Flack in 2nd, then Lorenz Patton, Santana, Iskrig, Knott, Basner, Bieda, Vidler, Napadovsky rounds out the top 10, and it's Diaz, Manzua, Galanay, Sousa, Koya, Gio, Grob, and Curiel who got disqualified in the end. And unfortunately, Curiel, that is going to end of, well, that's going to make things a lot more difficult here. And we do have a lobby restart actually for that Curiel incident, so he will be able to start a little bit further up the order. So we shall now have a lobby restart, ladies and gentlemen. This title finale has just got a little bit more interesting. They stay around, go to the toilet, fill up those drinks, maybe grab a few more snacks, because you're going to want to watch this race, and you do not want to miss this one, because it is going to be in all the way to the end. The Chaos of Jeddah is up next. We shall see you in a few moments' time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, sorry, there we go. Ashton's camera was off the screen for a second, but there we go. Welcome back to the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit. For, of course, tonight we take on this behemoth of a street track. The fastest street track on the calendar at 6.174 kilometers or 3.836 miles with, of course, 27 turns. The most turns on the F1 calendar and plenty of overtaking opportunities with 3 DRS zones to play with as well. The main opportunities, of course, down into turn 1, 27, potentially into turn 22 if we see some lucky drivers go for it, and into the likes of the banked hairpin of 13 as well, and even potentially into turn 15 and 16. But as we do now head track side, you can see it is, of course, going to be a dry race. We're in the desert. I wouldn't expect anything less. And the title comes down to this. Santana versus Vidler versus Gabadi. Gabadi, the one with the outside shot. He's fighting for pride, really, at this point and hoping something will happen to the two title protagonists. But the main front runners in this one, Vidler versus Santana. The Spaniard versus the Swede. And it is going to be down to the wire. The Williams teammates will go to war one last time, and they will go to battle. Here we are, and it's Gabadi and Flack on the front row of the grid. It's 5 red lights, and we're underway here in Saudi Arabia. It's a good start from the Kick Sauber, who's able to pull clear already of Casper Flack, and Lorenz Patton tried to look round the outside. Wasn't able to get the move done there. Ivan Skrieg is now looking to the inside of Oliver Knott. He moves himself up into 5th place off the start. Baser up into 7th. Curiel has been able to make his way past on to Victor Vidler, who's now down into 10th. Bieda up into 7th now, as he's just back past on to Lucas Beisner. And for Abe Gabadi, a great start at the front of the field in this opening sector. 7 tenths clear of Casper Flack, who bogged down at the start of this race just to not get a great launch at all in that Aston Martin. Patton, of course, in 3rd. And it's Santana, crucially at the moment, will be in title winning conditions on this opening lap. Oh, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't know why it said controller disconnected. But for Ave Gabadi here, Ashton, a dream getaway at the front of the field. 8 tenths clear of Casper Flack.
Yeah, he has seemed to have an amazing start, crucially ahead of his rivals. However, it won't be enough at this current time for Alex Santana down in P4. I imagine for the likes of Victor Widler, he might be looking for some alternative strategies, starting down in the low order of qualifying and also losing a few positions in the race on the opening lap. I imagine he might go for an undercut or just be on a completely different strategy. I haven't seen what compound of tyres he is yet, but we'll keep in touch to see if he does go for that alternate strategy.
Yeah, he's on the medium compounded tyres right now. The highest runner on those hards is Casper Flack, and that's potentially why he's got such a poor start. Andrea Manzua battling with Felipe Sousa and also Jeremy Gallinet as they make their way down the main straight. Patton able to get past now onto Casper Flack as the Aston Martin drops to 3rd. Of course, those hard tyres will go through a little bit of suffering at first. He'll plummet down the field, just like Lucas Beisner, potentially be overtaken by all the medium runners, and then around about lap 5, lap 6 will slowly start to come back into contention. That pendulum will swing to his favour, and for Patton, he's been able to get back within DRS of Gabadi, but would have had to use a lot of tyre energy and battery as well to get into that phase and get that close to the Kick Sauber in front of him. But hard tyres for Casper Flack, Lucas Beisner, and everybody else outside the top 11. And then you've got Vidler, Curiel, Bieda, Knott, Skrieg, Santana, Patton, and Gabadi on the mediums. So a real 50-50 split, really, here, Ashton, on the hards and the mediums. It's going to be interesting to see what one does pay off.
Yeah, especially Casper being at the top pack with those hard tyres. Obviously, is going to struggle on the opening stint of this lap just before the mediums start to die down. But it is a really interesting strategy. I thought, top 2 definitely would have started on the mediums to push as much as they can. But I would like to see how his strategy plays out, as Alex Santana has tried to make a move around the inside, just failed to do so, with Casper Flack defending that line. But I imagine with DRS this lap, can he try and make a move coming into turn 1?
Certainly could do, as he's getting closer and closer. Of course, we'll get better braking performance into that first corner, but well defended by Flack there into that first corner. and he will just be able to hold on to that position a little while longer. Hasn't been dropped by Patton either over the course of that second lap, so he's got DRS from the Hash driver in front, who's in turn has got DRS off Gabadi just in front of him. As we got a yellow flag in the first sector, it's for Jeremy Gallonay. The Frenchman has retired from the race, and that brings out a virtual safety car here in the first opening 3 laps of the race. We have our first casualty at turn 4. It's Jeremy Gallonay, who unfortunately is just turning a little bit too soon. You clip that inside wall and your front left tyre gets ripped right off. I wonder how many more drivers are going to make that mistake here this evening, Ashton, because it seems to be something that's very common around this track. You get a little bit too eager or even unsighted behind the car in front, and you see yourself completely out of things and watching from the sidelines in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those tracks where safety cars, virtual safety cars, are very likely to happen, especially if you make a mistake on those opening laps and you're trying to push just to catch up to the back of the grid. One going over the curb, bottoming out, that could be the small things that could cost you your race.
Certainly could be indeed. Napadovsky able to get past now onto Claudio Diaz as he makes his way up into 11th, third in that hard tyre group. Of course, the other hard tyre runners just in front of him are Basner in 8th and Flack in 3rd. So he's 3rd of those hard tyre runners in this race so far. Santana not close enough for a move onto Flack into that first corner. Is anyone going to be close enough for a move further back? Potentially Curiel on teammate Lucas Beisler just in front of him. And no, he's a little bit too far back himself, because Lucas did just about cling onto the DRS of Zalan Bieda on the exit of the corner. But of course, this is the stage of the race where drivers slowly start to build in a rhythm. Don't expect too much action in these opening few skirmishes, this opening stint, because drivers are just making sure they survive, get through this first stage, save those tyres, save the battery, and that second stint is where we will see moves be made. And I feel like that is where, of course, for Victor Vidler, he needs to try and capitalise and maybe even just use a bit more tyre now, don't you think, Ashton, to get a little bit more track position into that pit stop phase? Because with teammate Santana up into 4th and him down in 10th, got 6 places to gain on his own championship rival, and he still then needs to outscore him by 2 points.
Yeah, it's going to be it's definitely going to be a tough race for Victor. He might go for the undercut. It is going to be a bit of a risky option, but if you can get it done, that will mean the difference between winning the championship over his teammate. Obviously, he's the one that has going to have to put the work in, being 2 points behind. But over the, I think the predicted pit stop window is going to be between lap 9. I think you can pit a bit earlier than save tyres to the end, but it's going to be a very long and hard race for Victor Widler here.
Certainly will be. Undercut could certainly be the strategy at play that just helps him ever so slightly and get closer to Alex Santana. Of course, this championship battle is really between those two, but don't forget, at some point in this race, Abe Gabadi could still end this one as champion. He is doing everything he can. He's maximising that pole position start. And of course, he gets a point for that pole position, so that gap down to 14 points between the top 3 in the standings. And for Gabadi, of course, as I mentioned, does need to win the race and just really hope that Santana and Vidler both do not score. But at the moment, as things stand here on lap 5 of 25, it will be Santana crowned as your champion. And no one close enough to get any moves done thus far. I think the big issue is here, no one's really been disconnected from the train here, Ashton, and everyone's now got DRS on one another. They can't really gain anywhere, and I think the only opportunities is going to be for those hard runners in a few laps' time. Being able to close up and get past those medium runners, you'll start to struggle with rear sliding and even front-end rotation as those mediums start to wear.
Yeah, definitely do. Speaking of those hard runners, Casper Flash doing better than I thought he would be to try and stay with the pack who are on that tyres that has that better grip. He's managing to fend off Alex Santana, who, if I managed would overtake, would probably gain a few positions, but Casper Flash doing really well to manage those hard tyres and stay with those front 2. The rest of the drivers, like I think it's Lucas, and then the Mercedes. He's also, well, just fell back out DRS from the car ahead, but he's also the one on the hard tyres that's doing well to keep up with the pack.
He certainly is indeed, and now we see Isgriga not into turn 4 and not into the wall. Not, I think, somehow still has a car. No, he does not. He's front wheel has gone. He got tapped into the corner by Iskrig. Turns in that little bit too soon, just like we saw for Gannon. Tried to get the up and under and potentially even just a slot back in to the train. Unfortunately, he hits the wall and loses that front left tyre. And that is another victim here in another span of 3 laps. It seems like every 3 laps at the moment we're going to get a driver into that wall. But Oliver Knott is the next victim of turn 4. And that's promoted Victor Vidler up into 9th place. That's 1 less car to overtake. But for Zalan Bieda and Lucas Basler, they are very close to losing DRS range. And of course, these virtual safety cars at the moment, Ashton, are really, really good for those medium runners, because it gives them the opportunity to just save those mediums that little bit more throughout a course of a lap. So they've got potentially now about a lap and a half saved in extra energy in the tyres, and that can mean they could go that little bit longer in the race, ruining the hard tyre runner strategy.
Yeah, indeed. And speaking about the crash, as we said in the early hours of this race, this track is pretty much high risk, high reward. All the drivers want to try and claim as much points as they can, and obviously you want to try and overtake a car ahead in an unexpected place where they might not expect it. I think that might have just been a bit too unexpected for the driver ahead, and that's what caused the collision.
Yeah, it was really. I think Iskrig was hoping Knott would back out of the move, but unfortunately did not, and then into the wall on the right-hand side. Tried slotting back into the behind the Ferrari and back into the train was Oliver Knott, and he still was able to tap that inside wall. Just carried a little bit too low minimum speed and a bit too slow through the corner and in the wall himself. But for Iskrig, he still holds on to that 5th place behind Alex Santana as they make their run into turn 13. Of course, Abe Gabadi still leading the way. He's not left that top spot since the start of this race, and he's still kept Lorenz Patton a good arm's length away from his rear diffuser from any opportunity at getting an overtake done. For Lucas Basner and Casper Flack, they're now the real ones to watch in this race, because they can slowly now reel in those cars in front and utilise those hard tyres as the mediums do start to taper off. And for Lucas Basner, he's got an 8 tenths advantage to Zalan Bieda in front of him, 6 tenths to Damien Curiel behind. And talking about hard runners potentially making moves, Napadovsky all over the back of Vidler.
Yeah, indeed. He's almost a 10th behind. Is he going to try and make a move probably into turn 1? I don't think he's close enough for that final turn. But with all the cars with DRS, he is going to have to push. With all these virtual safety cars, I imagine the tyre wear won't be that bad. So he might not be able to get it done just yet. As you see, he loses a bit of time on the straights. Don't know if that's down to setup or the grip has just not kicked in for those hard tyres yet.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate there for Napadovsky, not able to get close enough so far, but it does show those mediums are really starting to come into play. And it could be he's gone for a higher downforce setup as well. As you can see, Vidler really having to soar at the wheel there to keep the car facing in the right direction through turn 5. The rear of the car getting all loose and out of shape. A bit better through the remainder of the S section. But so far for Vidler, struggling to make any moves, struggling on tyres potentially as well, and currently down in 9th place. He could still even lose out on that 2nd place in the standings to Abe Gabadi. Gabadi would be scoring 16 points and Vidler will be scoring, of course, 2 points. So yes, Gabadi will take that P2 away in the standings. Of course, it's not only that battle for the top spot, it's battle for best of the rest, the vice champion of the series. For Abe Gabadi, he's currently holding that spot, and Napadovsky once again getting closer for an opportunity. But I just feel like he's not got the straight line speed here to go for moves. He's running a bit too high downforce in the kick Sauber once more. We'll have to just see the back of the Williams through the final corner and down that main straight.
Yeah, indeed, as Casper Flack is losing still a bit of time. As if those virtual safety cars didn't happen, I imagine this is when the pit window would start to come out, as Victor Vidler has already pitted as I speak of it. But I imagine some of these drivers might be able to go for a lap or 2 extra from all these safety cars.
This is going to be the Hail Mary attempt here from Victor Vidler to go on to a set of the medium compound of tyres, and then to try and push on onto the hard compound of tyres, should I say, and try and push on and get the undercut onto the likes of Curiel, Basner and Bieda at the very least, as Napadovski's been able to get past Damien Curiel on the exit of turn 11. He's now up into 8th place, but crucially has now lost DRS range to Lucas Basner. And for Damien Curiel, he's starting to struggle on those mediums as Claudio Diaz is all over the back of the Mercedes, making his way through the middle sector. He'll try find any way through. It's going to be interesting to see where Vidler comes out in relation to the rest of the medium runners around him. Lap 8 is about the earliest you can box here at Jeddah and make the tyres last all the way to the end, even with a little bit of tyres saving, and that'll be done in the mid phase of this stint. But as we make our way through 22, Damien Curiel is under a whole load of pressure here from Claudio Diaz, and the V-Carb getting closer and closer. He's again just not going to get close enough into the braking zone like we saw for Napadovski. And for the kick Sauber, he'll keep pushing on and trying to get within DRS range of Basner. Everyone stays out so far, but Alex Santana, he's coming in as well. The two Williams drivers into the pit lane, both trying their own retrospective undercuts. As there's Diaz looking to the inside. Once again, not able to get the move done. But where does Santana come out in relation to Vidler? He's already got a new set of boots on the car. And as he makes his way down that pit lane, Vidler makes his way into that first corner. There you see on the screen is Vidler, and it will be Santana out just in front of his teammate. But that's good things to note here for Vidler. Of course, was around about 3 seconds behind his teammate at one stage when he came into pit lane, and now 1.5 seconds behind. He certainly is going to be in range of at least jumping Curiel, Basner and Bieda.
Yeah, indeed. And in fact, do we think Abe Gabadi would respond to the likes of Victor Widler and also Alex Santana hitting? As I imagine they went for the undercut on the drivers ahead. But however, with Victor Widler not managing to get that undercut working on his teammate, is it going to be the same thing for when they catch up to the Kick Sauber?
It could be very much the same thing that happens to the Kick Sauber, and for Santana to try and get that undercut done. But we'll have to wait and see here at this stage. So for Abe Gabadi, he currently leads the way from Lorenz Patton. Then it's Casper Flack, the highest of those hard runners, in third. But will Gabadi come in this time around and react to Alex Santana? He does. Patton follows him in. Of course, Flack will stay out, and he'll carry on for at least another 5 laps. And then we've got also that is also going to be Damien Curiel into pit lane. Iskrig and Bieda stay out in this one with those medium tyres, so they stay out longer. But where does Gabadi come out in relation to Santana, who's making his way down that main straight? I think he's got a very healthy undercut here, has Alex Santana, as actually Gabadi's come out behind Patton. So disaster in the pit phase, as the Kick Sauber might have just mistimed things, and Victor Vidler has jumped the pair of them.
Yeah, and that is going to be crucial for Abe Gabadi. Being behind the two rivals, it is looking less and less likely for that championship. Yet he's still got one fingertip on that trophy. Anything can happen in his final runnings or the final stint of this race. We'll just have to keep an eye out. But for Alex Santana, he would be a net lead. I would imagine so when all the other drivers come into the pits.
Yeah, certainly would be indeed. And for Victor Vidler, that's a big undercut he's got, because he's nearly jumped Lorenz Patton. I said he jumped the pair of them, but Patton and him were side by side on the exit of turn 2, and Patton just had that extra momentum and was able to get through, back past and up into 13th. But 1.6 seconds is the gap between Santana and Patton. For Abe Gabadi, a disastrous pit stop. Might have just misjudged the turning, and that made him have a poorer stop, a slower stop than Lorenz Patton. And in a moment like this, where the championship is so crucial, and where the championship is certainly on the cards here tonight, Abe Gabadi might have just thrown away at least an opportunity to take it away from the two Williams cars. And he might even now lose second place in the standings as well as a result. But for Santana, he's still got a healthy lead over Patton. Gabadi will now try and reply against Vidler and make his way through himself. Of course, 2 laps is the difference in tyres between Vidler and Gabadi. But no, backs off, does not look for the move as Vidler gets closer to Patton. But I wouldn't be surprised here, though, if we see Gabadi and Vidler here, Ashton, work together along with Patton to catch up to Alex Santana, because they know if they want to win this title, it's not going to be a battle between themselves. It's going to be a battle between between themselves and also Alex Santana. So they're going to have to try and work together here as much as they would love to beat one another at this stage.
Yeah, that is definitely true. And I think with the likes of how the DRS train is going, it is quite difficult to overtake the cars at the moment. So I think what you said is probably the best play that they could potentially do. Obviously, Lorenz Patton leading that pack of those 3 cars and is on the fresher tyres. So I imagine that P12 to P14 positions will be able to catch up to those top 10 as quickly as they can. And yeah.
Certainly would want to, as a Skrieg now is overtaken by Lucas Beister. He stayed out longer than anyone on those medium compound of tyres. See what he can potentially deliver on this strategy, as Alex Santana, of course, has now been caught by Lorenz Patton. Is Patton within DRS range? I think he is. And talking about getting into DRS range, Gabadi is all over the back here of Victor Vidler as we make our way down that main straight. And I think the Williams driver just about has that drag reduction system. No, he does not. And that's allowed Gabadi straight back through. I think the issue for the evening here tonight for the Williams driver of Victor Vidler is that it's just a lack of pace. It's not a poor, it was a poor qualifying, and he's now showing it up with not too strong race pace on this hard compound of tyres. He had an opportunity to stick with the Lorenz Patton, but unfortunately here for the Swede, Ashton, he's just not got the pace, and his title has been derailed in the final round, all thanks to the fact not as strong as his championship rivals were at this final event of the season.
Yeah, all the drivers, they all have their certain tracks, which you definitely see throughout the season. You have one driver that could be at the back one race and then on pole the next. It might be like that for Victor Widler. He might have just got unlucky with the end of the season and the tracks that we have. However, he is in a good position to still score some good points for his team. However, he needs to do some overtaking if he wants any chance of grabbing that title. But yet, you know, 2 virtual safety cars in the opening 6 laps, anything can happen. So fingers crossed for him that he is going to be able to jump up and claim some more points.
Hopefully so. It will be interesting to see how this race progresses in that stage as Ryan Grob pulls off to the right hand side, lets through Santana, Patton and Gabadi along with Victor Vidler, and it's just going to be interesting to see if any mistakes do happen for the likes of Santana or Gabadi that could aid Victor Vidler in his championship conquest. But so far for the Spaniard, one who's been the most consistent this season when it comes in terms of point scores and also just in terms of driving. His only non-score was last week with that retirement on the opening lap. So for Santana, he has been lightning quick all season long and he's been picking up the points when he needs the most. Got one more half of the race to go. One half of the race remains between him and championship glory as something's happened to Andrea Mansuas. He spun on the exit of turn 12 and unfortunately for the Alpine, someone who does really enjoy this circuit is Andrea, and unfortunately for him here in F3 it has not gone his way at all, and that is now going to be him round without a front wing, and that is his race certainly over and done with without a safety car.
Yeah, indeed. I think if there was a safety car, that definitely would have turned some things around for the likes of Lorenz and Alex Santana, as they probably would have been in a difficult position, as I'm guessing, imagine those top 7 would come to pit. But yes, for Andrea, he looked strong in qualifying, but just wasn't able to match that pace in the race. And I imagine he'll be going to repair his wing or either his tyre, as he has some frustration wiggles coming towards the end of Sector 2.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate there for, of course, Andrea Mansour, as we head back to this battle at, of course, P12, and it's between Bieda, Curiel and Iskrig, and it was nearly 3 wide into that final corner, as we see also DRS open for Iskrig along with Curiel. He's giving him a big squeeze to the inside line there and then switches back over to the left. Curiel and Iskrig make contact. The Ferrari off the road pushes the Mercedes back out wide. There's more contact between the two, and I think some front wing flying is Iskrig sent into a snap as he just tried to cut across the Mercedes, wasn't fully clear, and that was some very aggressive racing between the pair, just really rubbing up against one another, using their cars as battering rams in that first sector. And for Damien Curiel, he now concedes the position as Andrea Mansour, of course, has retired from the race after his unfortunate ending to this one after he spin through the first sector. And for Damien Curiel, I don't think he'll be too happy there for Ivan Iskrig's attacking opportunities, I would say. There, he's attacking moves, Ashton. They were quite robust and quite aggressive, but he was quite aggressive within himself.
Yeah, as they did lose a bit of time to the car ahead, not out of the DRS, but it did cost them two attempts, I think. But they should be catching up since he's still in it. But as you said earlier, with those three of the Lorenz Patton and the Alex Santana, those guys working together to catch up to that front pack. Imagine if Damien and Ivan Iskrig did the same thing, they would be able to catch up to back up to the top 10 that is being led by the Alpine driver.
Indeed, as actually Lorenz Patton has got his move done onto Alex Santana into that first corner. It was a lovely move to the inside. We just saw it from that wide shot. Kasper Flak into pit lane, of course, and he's come out just in front of Napodovsky, has he? Yes, he has. By 3.1 seconds, he's out of that ahead of Napodovsky. Of course, was quite some way behind. So Flak, the highest of those medium runners now, as they've come into the pit lane and started their second half of the race. This second stint is underway for them as they have 10 more laps to go in this Grand Prix. Yet to pit are both Basner and Koya. Then everybody else has had a trip to pit lane. And as we look a little bit further up, Santana is in fourth. Will be a net second place at the moment, but he at the moment is in championship contention. He will win the title if things stay as they are, and if he stays in front of Gabadi and Vidler, of course. He would love to stay in front of him, but even if he doesn't and finishes of course, a place behind Ave Gabadi, he still wins the title. He just can't really afford to finish behind fourth in this train, Victor Vidler, because if he gets outscored by 2 points, he will lose the title on countback. That's what is at stake for Vidler and Santana, and Gabadi was just the outside favourite, the one with not a realistic chance but a mathematical chance, and it could still end up he's going his way as he's all over the back now of Alex Santana, making his way down that main straight as we look into the first corner, and it's going to be Santana using Patton to defend as Gabadi to the inside forces Santana wide. He might try the up and under out of two, and no, just can't get the move done there. But Vidler's been dropped from this gaggle of cars. No, he's got back within it now thanks to the battling, but for Gabadi, he's at least trying to go down with a fight, and he's not going to give up for a race victory. This is a yellow flag in the first sector, I think, for Claudio Diaz. Yes, it is Claudio Diaz, who's gone round on the exit of two.
Yeah, so it's been a very good, as we just come past the halfway line. Kasper Flak on those fresh medium tyres, I imagine he'll catch up pretty quickly, but it's only going to be a matter of how many positions can he gain to try and claim the win for today after having a really good qualifying. Obviously, the fight is between those P2 to P4, all within next to each other. I think it's going to be a fight across the line for those top three in the standings. Obviously, Victor Vidler currently P4. Do we think there might be some teamwork between the Kick Sauber and the Williams driver? As if Ave can get past Alex, all Victor has to do is gain one position, and that will be the title for him.
Certainly it will be the title for, of course, Vidler if he's able to get past on Gabadi and Santana, but he's once again dropping at the DRS range, and that's Ivan Iskrig getting closer to him. We're currently on board with Vidler as he looks ahead at Gabadi versus Santana versus Patton, the top three now in this race, all starting to converge at this mid-stage as Kasper Flak has caught up to Damien Curiel, and he's to the inside and he's Aston Martin, and Flak makes his way through up into 7th place now, and he's caught up to the train, so he needs to utilize these mediums if he wants to get if he wants to get through with enough energy left to hold on to that race lead. And if he wants to have enough energy to even attack for the race lead, he needs to get past at least a car per lap. Diaz is now retired from the race. He's picked up 10 seconds in the pit lane, and that's our now 5th retirement of this one. But it's now going to be interesting to see what Kasper Flak does, how quickly he gets through this field, Ashton. Because for Kasper Flak, he, of course, has nothing really to fight for in terms of the championship. He's fighting for his own self-pride and would love his 2nd win of the season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously starting on that alternative strategy while being in the top 3, it wasn't really an expected strategy that we thought we would see from him, but he has managed to make it work. Had a bit of help from the virtual safety car, managing to save just that bit more, but as he came out to the pit, he is still within that DRS train of the top pack, so I imagine he'll be able to make some moves pretty quickly, and I think he could be on for a podium here today.
Yeah, certainly could be, as here he comes now onto Zalan Bieda around the outside into the final corner. Will he be able to pull this one off? Yes, he is. He's got so much more grip and purchase into the braking zone at the front of the field. Gabadi getting closer to Santana once more. What is the kick Sauber finally going to be able to get past on to the Williams driver, who looks to the inside of the Haas, but it's a late lunge from Gabadi, who's thrown it to the inside line and has forced his way through. And all while that was going on, this Skreek was able to get past on Victor Vidler, who's now got Casper Flack staring down at him as Bieda's left the session. Unfortunately, I think he's disconnected from the race. But for Casper Flack, he's up into 6th. Vidler now down to 5th. And for Alex Santana behind Ave Gabadi, that was a beautiful lunge to the inside from the kick Sauber. He meant that one. He did not hold back at all and knew that was his prime opportunity to even try and fight for the race victory as Casper Flack is passed on Victor Vidler. More woes for the Swede, but Ivanis Skreek is behind Spanish compatriot Alex Santana and could even demote the other Williams car down an extra place.
Yeah, indeed. So far, looking really good for Alex Santana. Ave Gabadi, you know, his finger is on that trophy for the championship. However, it is looking less and less likely with Alex Santana behind. Victor Widler, he seems, I think maybe his strategy, it just came in a bit too early. As you've seen, he's been losing times 2 positions down in this lap alone. So maybe his strategy just didn't go the way he planned.
I just don't think... I think he was hoping to build a bit more of a gap to those median runners potentially, and even try to get a bigger undercut than the rest or to the rest of the field around him. But for Ivanis Skreek, he's getting closer to Santana, just not close enough for a lunge himself. Santana is getting closer to Ave Gabadi, and of course, if we do come down to a battle between P5 and P6 between Santana and Victor Vidler, it will be Santana taking the title, even if Vidler did get through by a singular point. 6 points for 5th, 5 points for 6th. So it is ridiculously fine margins that can end this season off. And if it's ended by a point, Santana will still take that crown as Daniel Koya gets past Bieda's unfortunately disconnected car, and he's now holding up Niall Gio, who makes his way around the outside with a little bit of a drift as well. And for Lorenz Patton at the front of the field also, Ashton, he's nearly gapped Gabadi by a second, so it shows that Patton still has a lot of pace in this race.
Yeah, indeed. Only 9 laps on his tyres compared to the likes of Alex Santana and 10. The 2 Williams drivers, actually, they were the first ones to pit, so they might be at a disadvantage coming up towards the end of this race. But for Lorenz Patton and Ave Gabadi, those 2 are going to be fighting towards the end, both on the same lap's tyres. It's going to be a fight for the line. It's just going to be a matter of who can get across that first. Obviously, Lorenz Patton, without that DRS, will have the advantage. He's going to have to save his DRS as much as he can to try and fend off the kick Sauber.
Yes, certainly will need to as we head down into that first corner once more. It's a Skreek. Still just behind onto Alex Santana. Casper Flack hasn't been able to make too much progress. Victor Vidler is teetering on the edge once more of losing DRS to the cars in front. Of course, Patton last week got a 2nd place. Would love to improve to a 1st place this time around. And for Ave Gabadi, of course, has won 2 times this season. Will be his first return to the top step since Austria when he got the back-to-back as Eze Skreek having to defend from Casper Flack through turn 13. And for the Ferrari, is just able to hold on for now, but Flack is certainly starting to apply some pressure. Of course, one in Singapore, also one in his home circuit of the Netherlands, but it got taken away after contact on the final lap with Alex Santana. DRS now open for Flack as he gets closer and closer. Is he going to go for it to 22? It'll be very risky indeed. And no, just elects to back out of it as we now make our way down the back straight once more. When we cross the line, it'll be a total of four racing laps to go. And as it currently stands, Santana will pick up a podium and also pick up that driver's title.
Yep, indeed. Obviously, Casper Flack being on those 5-lap medium tyres, he seemed, I think he might be at the stage where he's just starting to get a bit frustrated, where he knows he has the pace to overtake the car, but that Ferrari of Iskrik is doing well to defend.
Yes, certainly is. As Kabaddi went for the move on Patton, has forced Patton wide. And the kick Sauber does see himself ahead, but I think he might just be letting Patton through. No, he is not. He has taken that race lead away, but that might certainly come under some scrutiny at the end of this one. Patton was off the road. We cut to it while watching Casper Flack against Ivanis Skrig. And for Patton, he was off the road there. And the Haas driver will now, of course, be let through by the kick Sauber. So Kabaddi lets him back through, and in the process, might be overtaken it by Alex Santana, who tries to dance all the way around the outside, but isn't able to find his way through. Of course, that was risky for Santana, because if he did get a loss of rear traction, if he did loop the rear of the car around, he certainly would have lost the title to Victor Vidler. But he needs to just have some moderation onto his challenges. The RS Open once more, nearly at the end of the season. Ivan Iskrig, of course, lines up fourth just behind Alex Santana, but for the championship leader, he is staring at championship glory. He's got 3 more tours of this Jeddah Corniche circuit to go, about 12 more kilometers to go in this race to see this one to the line. As further back, that's Lucas Basner getting a move done onto Victor Vidler as he looks to the inside. The Mercedes driver, can he see himself through? He might just be able to on the exit, and it gets even worse for Victor Vidler, as of course if Ave Kabaddi wins this race and Vidler finishes down in 9th, he will lose that title. As there's Lorenz Patton once again off the road trying to Kabaddi trying to overtake Lorenz Patton, and once again the Haas driver taking the escape road, but that time it seemed like more room was given. I'm not sure, though, if Kabaddi will let him back through. It's really kicking off at the front of the field as well.
Yeah, definitely indeed. I don't imagine he will. It depends. It's really down to the drivers in the moment. But, you know, the last time he tried to let Lorenz overtake him, Alex Santana was also, almost overtook him on the outside coming up to the turn we are at now.
Yeah, and he's not let Lorenz Patton back through. So in his judgment, everything was fine. Everything was fair. So for him, he is now able to push on, and he's already built an 8/10 gap over to Patton behind, of course. Into that crunch time, if either one of them want to take victory, of course, it'll be Patton's first victory of the season, Kabaddi's first win since his double back-to-back victory in Austria, where he was able to pull off a magnificent drive there. And for Kabaddi, who was one of the title favourites coming out of that race and then had 3 did not start thanks to no internet, it really derailed his season. But he would love to go out on a high and go out fighting and potentially still, take 2nd place in the driver's title. He's going to have to defend very aggressively from Lorenz Patton. 2 more laps to go here in Jeddah. And the championship is certainly looking like it's going to be won by Alex Santana at this stage. But anything can happen in motorsport. Anything can happen in PSGL as Nabadovsky gets past Felipe Sousa.
Yeah, indeed. You're definitely correct about anything can happen. Obviously, Kabaddi, I think he's at the point where he knows the chances of him getting that title might be on the low side. However, as you said, he hasn't had a win since the early stages of the season. So he's looking to stand once again back on that top spot. And I imagine he'll do as much as he can to fend off Lorenz Patton to get that.
Yeah, he certainly will do whatever it takes to hold off Lorenz Patton. As we're still looking at Nabadovsky. Head back over to his teammate Kabaddi, who's just making his way into turn, of course, turn 15 and 16 now. 2 attempts separate the Haas and the kick Sauber as they make their way out of 16. And for Alex Santana, he's still under pressure from Ivan Iskrig, but he just needs to take no risks at this stage. He can let Iskrig through, he can let Flack through, and he'll still be the champion for this season. For Lorenz Patton, he would love to pick up his first race victory in F3 here tonight in the final round to really build up a really strong end to the season. It's only entered 3 rounds. One of them a DNF, one of them a 2nd place, and this one could be a race victory. Or is he going to be the bridesmaid once more as we make our way down that main straight again? The final lap has now started. This is the final opportunity to get some moves done. Kabaddi defends aggressively into the first corner. Does he force Patton wide? There's contact between the pair. Santana's able to hold on against this Greek. He's not able to find a way through because he just was not close enough to capitalise. But for Patton, is he going to get the move done? No. There's Kabaddi back up the inside into 4. They're still side by by side as they head through 5 and then into 6. And it is Gabadi who once again goes to the front of the field as Patton runs wide onto the curb. He runs wide and nearly into his Skrieg, who has to take avoiding action. But for Lorenz Patton, it's gone from a first place, potentially on the cards, to maybe not even finishing in the top 4 or even a podium, as Casper Flack isn't able to get his way through just yet, but he gets the up and under. He gets the drive out of the corner, but it's just not enough. And for Alex Santana, his crowning moment could still be a race victory here with Abe Gabadi, as he now exits out of 16. Will he try go for the move, or will he just play it safe? Will he just hold on to a second place and bring this one to the line? But I have a feeling Santana would love to pick up an extra race victory to add to his tally. Of course, only has picked up 1 race victory all season long, but this is his crowning lap, and is he going to finish it off in style? Is he going to get the move done? He's looking for it on Gabadi, the champion-elect. Can he pull this one off? To the outside he goes through the final corner, has a slide. There's contact between the pair. That could have ended in tears. It's surely going to be Gabadi now with the DRS, who gets to run to the line. He does. Gabadi wins here in Saudi Arabia. He returns to the top step since Austria. But the big news, Alex Santana, the Spaniard's consistency reigns supreme. He wins the title here in PSGL F3. It's Alex Santana, champion of the world, here in the 3rd tier of PSGL. And boy, oh boy, what a final that was, Ashton. And Santana nearly crowned off the season in the best way possible.
Split by only a few hundredths of a second. As we said at the start of this race, anything can happen, and anything did happen in those final runnings of this race. Obviously, Lorenz Patton going wide, almost going to the back of the Ferrari, but just somehow managed to avoid it. But that was really close between the Abe Gabadi and Alex Santana. I'm sure he will be disappointed on losing out on the win, but I think also it will be neglected by the fact that he has won the championship, and I think that's going to be what he's on his mind right now.
Oh, that is certainly all he cares about. He was trying to, of course, top the season off in style. But unfortunately, was not meant to be. And Gabadi finally returns to that top step for the first time since Austria. But your order at the end is as follows. It's Gabadi who wins from Alex Santana. It was half a attempt separating the two. And for Alex Santana, he still gets a podium on his championship-defining nights. And it's Ivan Skrieg in 3rd, Lorenz Patton in 4th, Casper Flack, Damien Carrell, Beister, Vidler, who I actually think in this case does lose out on 2nd place in the standings. I'll double-check my maths in a moment. It's Felipe Sosa, Napadovsky, Kuya, Gio, and then it was Bieda. And then we lost the likes of Galanay, Manzua, and Co. But, Ashton, we head back to our lovely faces. That was really a race to remember. And for Abe Gabadi, if my maths is correct, I'm going to double check it in a second. With that race victory, he's denied Victor Vidler a chance at 2nd place in the standings. He will take 2nd place at the very end. Abe gets you 3. Win gets you 16. That gap would have been down to 12 points between the pair. So yes, by a singular point, Abe Gabadi does take 2nd place as well. But the real big talking point, Santana showing consistency is key. Only non-point score was a DNF at Abu Dhabi. Takes the title, and what a way to do it as well.
Yeah, indeed. Showing the consistency all throughout the season. Imagine what it would have been like if Abe Gabadi was able to attend every single race. I think it might be even closer between those two. However, that last race, I think it was a great race to end the season off. Obviously, we're going to have a while between racing again. But for the final race of the season, I think all drivers should be proud. Obviously, some drivers are not going to be happy having to retire. Imagine the likes of Victor Widler. He's not going to be the best of moods, losing all those positions towards the end of his race. But his teammate did win the world title, so I think that is something to look up to.
Yeah, it certainly is. Of course, for Victor Vidler, it's commiserations for him. He led a majority of this season, and then it all just started to fall away near the end of that campaign. Of course, had a poor showing in Singapore where things just didn't go his way. He finished in 5th while Santana got 3rd. It all actually started in Brazil, with that 5th place he got. That was his first non-podium finish when he started a race. Of course, Hada did not start in Austria, where he didn't attend, but Brazil was the real turning point in the season. It was a 5th place, followed by a 5th place in Singapore. He didn't show up in Belgium. That gave Santana the perfect opportunity to claw back more points, and he did. He clawed 10 back into his favour. That then gave him the championship lead into Abu Dhabi. And then, of course, not being able to capitalise again with a 6th place in Abu Dhabi when Santana retired. It just all fell apart for Victor Vidler after that second half of the season begun, from round 6 onwards. He's not actually featured on the podium since that race win in Zandvoort at round 5. So, yeah, for Vidler, it just all fell apart, and he just wasn't able to keep the composure when he needed it the most.
Yeah, indeed. And obviously, with the likes of how last race started for Alex Santana, I think in a P2 position, he might have lost a bit of confidence. Might have been a bit frustrated after what happened last race. I know if you crash the race before the final one, you start to play your mind starts to play tricks on you. But he managed to keep his focus and that consistency, and it's a well-deserved win for him on the title. Obviously, Gabadi as well. Speaking of consistency, I think I'm not sure about the standings. I haven't been keeping track that much. But as you said, I think those two might be the most consistent drivers on the grid. Obviously, finishing 1 and 2 in the standings would prove that.
Yeah, certainly is. And of course, for Gabadi, it was 3 races he did not attend because of course, having no Wi-Fi for Texas, Zandvoort, or Brazil. And yeah, that derailed his season. Of course, he's going to finish 2nd overall. He's going to, of course, claw back a few more points in the end. So it was 14 after qualifying. It's going to be down to 10 at the end of the season. And you could easily say, Ashton, even if it was, say, a 3 8th place finishes, that's already a total of 9 points missed out on. Yes, it would have still been him 2nd in the standings, but it would have been 1 point behind Santana come the end of it. And then that's exactly where the title was lost, I think, for Gabadi. Those 3 races, he wasn't able to attend, he wasn't able to score points. Vidler and Santana were just able to extend that advantage, extend that lead, and it all just fell away from him and did not go his way at all. And commiserations to Abe Gabadi, because he drove a fantastic season. He scored a point in every single race he contested. And he was another one who started off the season strongly, like Victor Vidler. He got a 3rd, then backed it up with a win at Baku, a win at Austria, where, of course, in Baku as well, he brutally denied Alex Santana a race victory at the line. So, if for Gabadi, it's another driver where issues out of his control have plagued his season. But, of course, you can't take that away from Alex Santana, can you? Because he has had such a amazing season. He's had such a strong performance. He's picked up when others haven't scored. He's picked up the pieces when he's needed most and done everything he needed to do. So, yeah, a perfect season from Alex Santana, and was there at the right opportunities to score the points he needed.
Yeah, indeed. And obviously, after a great race of Abe Gabadi, obviously we don't wish it, but we had to recap back onto qualifying of that impeding of Ryan Jacobs. So anything could happen from that point. If it is decided in the stewards room, obviously he might fall back a bit. Well, he definitely fall back a position to the driver behind him. But if not, that is going to be a great news for him. After missing out on 3 races and getting P2, I mean, with how close, the grid is and how little points some drivers get, missing out 3 races is a huge deal. So the fact that he was able to be even in contention for the title in the final run just shows his consistency as well. But we'll see in, imagine, a few days when it comes out. But let's hope not, as we never want our results to be decided by stewards.
We never do, indeed. But we will be able to hear from the top 2 in the race / your champion of Alex Santana. We're going to start off with Gabadi, even though he won the race, because, of course, we'd love to hear from Santana last. So let's head to the interview screen and bring your race winner, Abe Gabadi, into the commentary box. Hello, Abe. Can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your first race victory since Austria. Just talk us through things. How did you find qualifying? How did you find the race?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to congratulate Alex. I think he won the championship, so yeah, he deserved it. It was a mixed emotions championship. and qualifyings and races in general. You know, with the wars in the Middle East, I didn't have any internet, so I had to miss 3 races. And yeah, I mean, it didn't go well after that because I had a lot of game glitches in Abu Dhabi and Singapore. So had to catch up, and then here quali, finally at least something didn't go as bad. Quali, I mean, I did a big mistake in the last corner, which I think I lost out 1.5 tenths or something. But yeah, at least it was pole, and in the race, I mean, we were trying to do everything to compromise the others, and so I can extend the gap more. But then when I boxed, the game just glitched me. I stood still. I lost like 2.5 seconds or something. Yeah, it didn't go well, so I had to push more than I wanted to at the end. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. A win is a win, but yeah, it's not. It doesn't taste as good as the previous wins.
I was going to ask about how that pit stop occurred, because of course you did come out behind Patton, but you have answered that question pretty much for me. I thought you, of course, just turned in a little bit too late, pressed the button too late, and fortunately that was it. But yeah, unfortunate to hear that a game glitch ruined your strategy in a sense. And talk us through those final few laps. Of course, you were battling with Patton and then with Santana as well in the end. Just, of course, was it? We saw Patton go off the road at turn 1 a couple of times. Were you leaving him enough room, or was it just potentially a few incidents that might be flagged by the steward a little bit later on?
Well, I recall once, I think the first time when we went turn 1 side by side, I broke actually really early. So, but you know, with the tire age at that lap, and Pat Lawrence was pushing a lot the tires, so I had to also keep up with him pushing. So the tires were far off from ideal grip wise. So yeah, we both broke really late, but I always made the apex, and except for one occasion, which I let him by later in the turn 7, I think, end of sector 1, I let him by because that incident, I think I did push him. But the other ones, I don't know. I think he broke even later than the previous times. So he had a way tighter line, but I left the exact same space as before. And yeah, I mean, there was definitely a space, a car and a half. I think he had a tighter line, so it compromised his exits. But it was a fun battle, at least.
Yeah, it was fun to watch as well, and of course you had that battle with Santana to the line as well. Did you think heading up into that final corner that he got you, or were you confident under braking in that final corner you were able to stay alongside as you did and get the move with the DRS at the line?
No, I did. In many occasions, I did the same thing as I did today, and it always worked for me. So yeah, it was quite controlled. I broke on time. We had a perfect battle till the end. So it was clean by him and clean by me. So yeah, it was fun to see the finish that close. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, certainly. Of course, it is. I think if my maths is correct, I do believe it's correct. A second place in the standing for you. So of course, you did miss those 3 races, which, as we know, they weren't your fault. The no internet and everything. So, are you happy with a second place in the standings, all things considered, especially having missed 3 races where Santana and Vidder have been here for a majority of rounds? Is it a good step forward, do you feel like, in your career and progress here?
Progress for sure. Because I mean, with more experience, of course, on one side, but there's, on the other hand, it's 2 seasons in a row that I missed 3 or 4 races due to the internet situation and the political situation in the Middle East. So, and it's quite disappointing and frustrating because it's not my fault. I'm just here to drive, but it's 2 seasons in a row I'm leading the championship and I lose it. So obviously, with all the experience gained and new friends made, and with the marvelous team of Veloce helping and supporting me, it's always a pleasure. But yeah, it's 2 seasons in a row that the win just slips away from me. But yeah.
unfortunate. But to see that it slips away in a fashion like that, of course, we'd love to have seen long. And I believe you certainly could have took that title, but all next, I think next season, depending on when the DLC releases, on the F1 20 DLC. So, of course, you've got no experience in that car yet, but what are your aspirations for next season? Are you hoping to build off this season, potentially get into F2 maybe? What do you hope to?
First of all, yeah, thanks for the kind words. Means a lot. But with the DLC, I don't know. It's the same game, so mostly the physics are going to be the same. But with the battery situation and with a new era of no more ground effect cars, I think 2021 cars mostly are gonna, people who were comfortable with those cars, I think, are gonna be comfortable here. But I don't know. We'll see. It's gonna be a lot of battery management, and let's see if the game is gonna be first even playable, and then we can race with it, hopefully without any glitches and bugs, as this game has quite a few actually. But yeah, I mean, I really hope that I've proven myself enough in the races that I've participated that I'm F2 pace. A bit of mistakes from my side, but it's mostly, yeah, hopefully the Middle East will become now.
Yeah, hopefully so, because we'd love to see a full, no matter what tier it is. And yeah, congratulations on the race victory. Ashton, do you have any questions for Ave before he goes on with his evening?
Yeah, I mean, congratulations. Obviously, I joined late when it comes to keeping track of the standings. But speaking to Max, he's told me about your consistency, and looking at the standings, the fact that you missed 3 races and were still able to get P2, I think that's something still to be very proud of. Obviously, you always want the title towards the end, but the fact you was able to finish where you did finish today is really good for you. So well done, mate. It's good there.
Thanks a lot. Cheers. Yeah, I mean, it's also the races after the 3 DNSs, I could have done better, but with some game glitches and my own personal mistakes, lesson learned. It's noted, and I won't repeat that.
Is lessons learned, and yeah, hopefully we see you back again next season and we're able to do a full campaign, Ave, because you certainly have some great pace. Yeah, we'll hopefully see you back again and fight for the title once more.
Thank you so much. Yeah, hopefully wherever I am, F2, F3, hopefully we're just here to have fun and yeah, have a great community. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Ave, as well, for a fan. But that is going to be all from the man who won the race and picked up second in the standings. And now let's bring in the race winner. So we shall speak to, of course, Alex. Sorry, the championship winner, not race winner. Alex Santana. Hello, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Well, first of all, get the elephant out of the room. Congratulations on the championship. Talk us through your season and talk us through tonight's race. How did you find the season as a whole and the race as well?
Yeah, the season, it's been a fun season for sure. I changed teams just before starting the season, and coming from F4, it really showed what the VNT have helped me achieve with my pace. It's been really good. And yeah, at the start I was kind of struggling a bit because I still had to start improving, and at the end I got consistent, and yeah, that's the consistency is what's got me the championship. So yeah, very good.
Certainly the consistency that won you title, picking up a point at every single race you finishing no lower. Did, of course, cross the trick flag, no lower than 7th, and that was the opening round of the season. You built on power, on pace, race on race, and of course it did work out well in the end. But of course, talking about the race as well, it was a good qualifying, all things considered, where you qualified, I think it was 4th in the end. or actually no, it might have been fifth, maybe actually in the end. So
Fourth, I think fourth. Yeah.
it was fourth. So yeah, fourth in the end, and then of course that gave you a nice buffer over Victor. And was you ever worried about Ave at any stage of the evening, or did you know you just had a big enough gap that you could comfortably sit in the top 10 and just one across the line?
Yeah, I knew. Obviously, Ave is a really fast guy, and he has gotten a bit unlucky this season with all the stuff happening. But with the gap we had, both Victor and I, because we both have had a quite big gap to Ave, we knew just keeping it clean and getting a top 10 would have been enough. So I was not really worried about Ave. He could win the race. I was not too bothered by that. The main focus was on Victor, so he wouldn't get ahead of me.
Main focus certainly was on Victor. He just never really seemed to have the pace. So you were quite comfortable throughout that one, and of course, throughout that race, you were in that front pack. Of course, you tried the undercut as well. Was that always the strategy starting from fourth, or was that something you thought on the spot, especially with Victor coming in that lap earlier? Or did you try and cover off his undercut?
Yeah, we didn't really have a strat in mind before the race. We obviously knew what laps where people were gonna box more or less. But as soon as we saw Victor box in, and we knew we had a gap of a few cars in the middle, we knew we had to push that lap and cover the undercut. Because in this race, I really only cared about Victor's, because if I finished ahead of him, anything was good enough for me. So I just covered him up, and yeah, at the end it was not a bad strat, because I got side by side to the line for the win. So it was a good strat anyways.
Yeah, certainly was indeed. And talking about that side by side to the line, of course, heading up into that final corner, you were just streaking clear of Ave, of course. Did you think on the Exeter corner he was going to have you down that main straight, or were you trying to be as late as you dared to try and get that car length at the very least to hold on to the race win?
No, at that point it's one corner to the end, and I'm not really thinking about the win. I'm thinking about the championship. So I tried to go for it, because obviously winning would have been very nice, but at the same time I didn't want to give Alve too little room or get a lag or something, because this game we know how it is. So I just didn't really want to get something wrong and spin or get a crash or something, or maybe a penalty. So I just saved it, and maybe I could have got the win if I really pushed for it. But being the last race of the season and fighting for a championship, I just wanted to make sure nothing happened. And yeah, also Ave dived really good, and he's a really good driver, so I knew he would give it the space.
Did indeed, and of course this second half of the season for you has been absolutely immense. It really did revitalise your campaign, of course, not finishing off the podium all throughout the second half of the season. Of course, the only race you didn't was that DNF last time out, but when you finished a race since Zandvoort onwards, it's always been on the podium. Have you just felt that the second half of the season, the break after Austria, was exactly what you needed, and you came back a completely different driver and just felt a lot more confident in yourself as each week went by?
Yeah, like I said, I changed team, so it always gets like a few weeks of getting used to it, to the new team and how it works. And yeah, so that break week really helped me to keep improving and really figure things out. And then it's just was the pace was there, and I just kept it consistent. And I cannot thank enough the team, because they have really helped me.
A great second half of this. It certainly did really bring out the best in you. Of course, really helping that championship campaign. But of course, what was your mentality heading into this race as well? Because of course, you've just come off that DNF in Abu Dhabi on the opening lap. Were you still incredibly confident with yourself, or was there a little bit of nerves in the back of your mind, knowing that DNF on lap one could happen again very easily in an incident once more that's not really your fault?
Yeah, after quali, when I saw I was like a few spots ahead of Victor, I just knew I had to keep it really safe from the start, so nothing like that happened again, because I learned my lesson from last week. So I just kept it clean, and even with Casper, I think it was on the hards at the start. I just didn't really want to go for it in a crazy way, because it was not the point to try things. Victor was far behind, so I just did what I had to do, keep it clean, and not repeat what happened last week.
Yeah, it was certainly a really different drive, and very much you played it safe, and it worked in the end. You need to play it safe, and you did exactly what. Congratulations once again on picking up the title. But looking on to next season, of course, it probably will be on the F126 DLC. But what are your hopes? What are your goals for next season? What do you hope to be in F2 next season, or what do you want to achieve?
Yeah, at the moment we will see, because there's the new DLC, which is not really a new game, but physics are gonna change a bit. Obviously, we'll probably drive similar, but you never know. So we will have to wait until the DLC comes out and see the pace. And yeah, I mean, being F3 champion really helps to get promoted. So let's hope my pace in the DLC is good. And yeah, I would love to be in F2 and try to compete with the very best.
Yeah, hopefully you will be, and as you say, being the F3 champion, it certainly does add that little bit more of a spice to your CV, saying, "Look, I'm F3 champion, got an F2." But yeah, congratulations, Alex, on what has been a fantastic season. You have thoroughly deserved this title, and hopefully we see you back again next season in F2 or even back in F3. But no matter where you are next season, good luck, and yeah, we wish you the best, and well done on the championship.
Yeah, thank you. I wanna say a thing before, because I know Victor is gonna be down a bit now, because he obviously wanted to win it, but he's been practicing with me the whole season, and we've been teammates. If you check the constructor championship, we had it locked for I don't know how many races. So I want to thank Victor as well, not only the team, because he really pushed me, and he's a very nice guy, which is very fun to practice with, and it definitely makes things a lot easier. So thank you also to him, and he's also a great driver. I'm sure we will see more of him.
Oh, that's a really nice touch. We don't see many drivers really doing it. So, yeah, congratulations on you two as well. Congratulations, Victor. If you watch this or if you see it on the Constructors title in your third place in the standings alongside that, I know Ave might have just pipped you by a point, but it was still very well thought by him. But yeah, Alex, congratulations. You've done the double then, essentially. I mean, have had that Constructors a wrap for quite some time, but yeah, enjoy your evening, enjoy your celebrations of the championship, and good luck for next season wherever you are. We wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Alex Santana. Unfortunately, we've lost Ashton. He had to, unfortunately, disappear. He's had to go, but anyway, it don't really matter too much at this stage, because we are now at the end of tonight. We're at the end of the season, and unfortunately, I think for the F125 cycle as well, I think that is a bye. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this season. Of course, congratulations to Alex Santana on the title. Thank you for all the drivers as well for constantly attending the races. And even if things didn't go your way, well done on wherever you finished the title standings. Certainly a season to remember, and many a fine races. And even at the end, we had qualifying and the race split by the barest of. But that's going to be all from us here at F3 in PSGL Season 42. Make sure that you tune in to the F2 or F4 races that are currently going on right now. I know F2 currently has a title finale on their hands. I'm not too sure about F4. I'll quickly double check that for you now. And they also have a title battle on the cards as well. So make sure you check out what happens in F4, because that certainly can go down to the wire and all the way to the very end, just like it can in F2. So tune into those races, and we shall see you next season for season 43 of PSGL, and it should be a very exciting season ahead. thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for the season as well, and thank you for your support. If you want to know any more about next season, make sure to follow PSGL on, that's the wrong hand, Instagram, Discord. Join the Discord through the Twitter or Instagram, and on TikTok maybe as well. We'll probably certainly post some regular updates on what will happen next. Could be last one on the F1 25 game cycle. It could be a new one on 20. All depends on when the DLC will be released. But thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. We shall see you next season, who will follow in Santana's footsteps and pick up the F3 title. Stay safe, stay well. Thank you, and bye-bye.